The tide appears to be turning in Shanghai's desperate COVID-19 situation. No new infections reported in 2 districts outside quarantine areas, while 7 had numbers in the single digits. 12 million residents previously banned from leaving their homes have been allowed to venture outdoors. More than 600 firms, meantime, have been identified for early work resumption in Shanghai. Some factories have already restarted operations, including US electric car giant Tesla, which had shut down for more than 20 days. In a further sign of an easing of outbreak conditions in Shanghai, more than 14,000 people were discharged from makeshift hospitals, but there were 7 more fatalities, raising the death toll of the current outbreak to 17. The number of new cases, though, is declining. The Financial Hub reported nearly 19,000 infections today, and that's well below the peak from about a week ago, where infections hit almost 28,000. It's the first time in nearly 2 weeks the cases have dipped below 20,000. For more, Lo Min joins us live now from Shanghai. Min, how is Shanghai faring in its bid to deliver on China's zero COVID strategy now?
Well, 6 districts show cases on the downtrend for the past 3 days. 6 districts show cases plateauing, and 2 districts showing cases on the uptrend. The government is trying to achieve what it calls social zero COVID. That's a new jargon they have introduced recently, referring to a situation where new cases are detected only among those who are already in quarantine. Now, this is done by ramping up daily testing and speeding up the transfer of positive cases and close contacts into quarantine centers. But it's met some pushback from residents, with social media posts circulating showing people defying orders, residents claiming that they have tested negative several times and yet are still being forced into quarantine centers. Now, this could happen with a shortage of resources causing delays in picking up these patients, and by the time they are being asked to move, they have already recovered from COVID-19 at home. Now, CNA couldn't verify all of these social media posts, but I did speak to some residents who have described such situations to me. And yesterday, the Shanghai authority apologized to residents for the inconvenience caused and pleaded with residents to comply with these orders. The goal of having social zero COVID is that hopefully then the rest of the community can achieve some semblance of freedom of movement in the coming weeks.
And meantime, Min, there are these reports of so-called whitelist companies in key industries that can resume production. What can you tell us about those?
Well, these companies tend to come from the automobile, semiconductors, and energy industry. They can apply to resume work if they can maintain work safety in a closed-loop environment. This means workers must sleep where they work, but there appears to be some teething problems with this. The German Chamber of Commerce has said the solution is unsustainable. Some workers have already been in this closed loop for 3 weeks now, and they need to be replaced. And other companies couldn't get their raw materials in time, meaning they can't resume production even if they were allowed to. Now, the major pain point now remains the choke points at this road transport due to different COVID-19 restrictions at different places. This means that some workers, truck workers, have to wait several hours for a COVID-19 test when they're traveling between provinces. Some workers say they have to be quarantined for 2 weeks at their own costs when entering certain areas. And as of today, over 100 toll stations at highway exit points are still closed. Now, the central government has ordered all these highways to be reopened, but just yesterday, many of these toll stations are still illegally closed, and the central government is trying to create a unified system of command to smoothen the flow of logistics.
Some challenges remain. Min, thank you very much for that. Lo Min in Shanghai.